Now we are going to continue with reading data with Entity Framework. What we're going to see in this lecture are, first we're going to see some things about DB context. After that we'll see how we can use DB context. We're going to continue with reading data with LINQ queries and how we can execute native SQL queries. So, the DB context class can be generated by Visual Studio Designer. And basically what our DB context provides. So, we have methods for accessing entities, object sets, and creating new entities. For example, add method. We got the ability to manipulate database data through entity classes. So we can say read, modify, delete, insert. Easy navigation through the table relationships. That's what we have as well with, for example, access your table dot something, and this dot something is actually the relation. So we can execute LINQ queries as native SQL queries, and we can create the DB schema in our database server. So for using DB context class, first we need to create an instance of that DB context. After that, the constructor, we're going to pass our database connection and mapping source. What DB context properties we have? Well, we got connection, which is the SQL connection to be used. We got common timeout as another property. Basically, that's for timeout for database SQL commands execution. And we got basically all entity classes are listed as properties. Now, how we can read data with LINQ query? Executing link to entities query over Entity Framework. So basically we're saying, first we're giving using. Why? Because when we open our database, if we forget to close it, it will be automatically closed when we go out of this code. So what we're saying, var context, that's the instance of our database, is equal to new Northwind entities. Northwind entities, the first option, the first naming convention is to call something with entities. The other naming convention is to say that it's DB scope. So, for example, I can say Northwind DB context, and that's fine. Usually, the most people prefer this one. I prefer it as well, but just to know that you can use entities as well. Okay, so we're creating the instance var context equals new Northwind entities. Now what we're saying var customers, here we would like to store our customers, is equal to, and now with LINQ syntax, from C in our context.customers, so context.table name customers. Now we're giving the condition where the current customer.city is equal to London, give me the customer. So now the query will be executed as SQL command in the database. So customers property in the DB context, here how it looks like. So we got Northwind entities, our class, which inherit DB context. And now here we're saying public object set from customer model and the name customers. After that, here we're giving get and set. We can use object set, or prefer one is to use DB set. Now we can also use extension methods, which is Fluent API, Fluent for constructing the query. So what we can say, again using context is equal to new instance, but I can say var customer phones is equal to context.customers dot select. I would like to select only the phone of this customer. After that, I'm giving the condition where, that's with lambda, customer is going to customer.city equals London, and I'm saying dot to list. Now this is called projection, and keep in mind that toList method executes the query. So whatever you write until here, that's on query level, so you didn't access database, and that's very important to know, because so far we didn't access the database. So far we were just building the query. The moment when we say toList, then you send a request to the database, and then it's happening the actual traffic. Very important is to understand when to use toList. toList can be dangerous because if I say here, for example, dot toList, and after that have it down, what will happen? I'll say context, give me the table customers, and give me toList. toList will actually get all records from customers. And what's happening when we got thousands of customers? Well, slowing down our application with several seconds because we forgot the simple toList. So instead of getting here, let's say 2000 customers, I'll first select the phones and I'll get all which are with city bundle. So for example, here are 200. And after that I'm saying toList, and here on toList will be executed. So you can see that a simple misplacing on the correct place toList could slow down our application quite a lot. So this is called projection. What's projection? Dot select from c.phone. What will happen if I don't have select? Well, let's say we got custom, we have public class customer. Okay, now this class, what it has? It has string first name, string second name, after that string last name, string city, string country, string, or let's say integer age, etc, etc. And also it has string phone. So basically what we're doing with projection, let's say when I'm getting this data, I don't need all these properties. I don't need them. Then why you should take them? Well, you shouldn't. And here select is coming. What will happen if I always take all of them? Well, my application will be slower because I'm taking several times more data which I'm actually not using. So very important to know is to take only what you need. Here I need customer phones, so I don't care of their names or their last names or ages or country or anything else. I care only for their phones, and that's why I'm saying here select c.phone, and that's important to keep it in mind. How we can find element by ID? Well, I'm going to say context.customers and here .find with 2, and with that you're going to find customer with ID 2. And after that you can print on the console, for example, .contact title. Now, .contact title, you can use it because you're not doing projection. But if that's again the only property that I'll need, then I'll say customers.select here, .select, and I'll say customer is going to customer.contact title. And after that we'll have .find. Before that, .customers. So how we can create native SQL queries and log them? So to print the native database SQL commands, we need to execute the following. First, we're having the query. So I'm saying var query equals context.countries. Context.countries, countries in our case right now is the table in database. And after that I can say query.toString. Basically, this will print the SQL native query executed at the database server to select the countries. So here, what I'm going to have printed will be select all from countries. And that's what you're going to see. So this can be printed to file using streamWriter class instead of console class. So you can, if you're using logging in your application and you're applying it, which is good practice, then you can log your queries .toString, and if anything happen, like bug or some escalation or some issue, you can track the logs and you can see the last executed query to the database. You can copy, just paste it and use it and see what's happening. Is that issue coming from there? So it's good to know that you can log the native SQL queries and how to do it. Thank you for watching and happy coding!